Hey, this is the Daily Overpass. My name is Eric and I make apps. Now today I want to ask, can the indie app developer survive in the app market? So yesterday I was in London for the entire day. I did the video from there. I did it from the Tower Bridge, London Bridge area. I went down there to meet with a company that I used to work with, and it was kind of nice to see everybody. But the reason I was there was to go to this event thrown by AppAnnie called Decode London, right? And it was really nice. And AppAnnie is, I mean, it's one of my favorite companies. I use the AppAnnie almost, if not daily, at least 3 or 4 times a week. It's something that I'm always checking keywords. I'm always checking to see stats of other apps and stuff like that, and always trying to see trends, but not as much as other people do, but I really do. And I use the free tools, right? I'm not the big corporate. I don't have the budget to go for their paid options, but apparently they're really good. Right, so, and the event was really, really nice. You go down there, they hand you a glass of champagne, you mingle with the people there. There was about 100, I think it was 150 people there, and then there were speakers. So there was, they talked about some of the trends in the app industry, but like in travel and in retail and in banking sectors, and how like the growth in Southeast Asia. All really, really interesting information. I don't have any of the stats for you, unfortunately. And there was a speaker there from the Lloyd's Bank talking about how their mobile department had gone from just a small team to like 250 people, and it's like now a big part of the company. And somebody's there from Rovio talking about their acquisition strategies and everything like that. And someone from Trainline, the Trainline app, and all this stuff. And it was really interesting. But they were mostly big companies and stuff like that, which makes sense because AppAnnie is their paid tools are more for those large corporate companies. But still, I thought, there's still stuff to learn, right? It was all really interesting, nice time, free drinks, lots of gin and tonics, stuff like that. I didn't drink, which is probably, I may have had a better time if I did, but whatever. So, but the people, so while I was mingling, the first person I spoke to, just, chatting around, trying to get to meet other, app developers or whatever. So the first person I spoke to, he worked for like an ad network, or it was like an ad network or something. It was really thing, but it wasn't an app, so it was more of a service, right? And the second person I spoke to did authentication systems for apps. So, trying to show me how his authentication worked, and it was better than, the other authentication systems out there. So that was, not an app developer. The next person I met with was, she was like a UX specialist, so she worked for another large company, and well, she didn't do apps, she did UX, and they were thinking about going into apps. And then the next person I spoke to worked on analytics systems, and it was like, and then it got to the point where I thought, I didn't meet like a single app developer, right? I kept looking for the indie app developers. I kept walking around trying to say, and I just started asking people, hey, are you an app developer? And I said, no, I work for an investment company, and we're thinking about investing in apps, and I'm here to look at trends and all this stuff. And I thought, okay, right? So, and it got to the point when I left. So I only spoke to like, probably 9 or 10 people, right? And I could have mingled more, but in the end, I just sort of, left. I mean, and by the way, what kind of idiot doesn't bring business cards to a networking event? This guy, I completely forgot to bring him, which is fine because I didn't really meet any other developers there. See, I like talking to app developers, especially indie app developers, because then we could talk about strategies for discoverability, how in-app purchases are working for them, and how those could be improved, all this kind of stuff. And it's always good to compare notes with somebody on the same situation. But most of the people there I met were part of large companies, so part of the corporate, more, they have huge budgets, they have, user acquisition specialists, they have people in charge of different departments, like the head of acquisitions or the head of brand and the head of customer service, all this kind of stuff. And indie app developers are much different because it's just, one person, maybe a couple people, maybe they have a team, like me, it's me and then the team, right? And I left feeling a bit like, I guess I just felt a bit down. So I left thinking, is this like just the way things are going? is the age of the indie app developer dead? Like, indie app developers still exist, obviously, but is it going to be completely consumed by corporate entities, right? And I know a lot of people out there have said that, on the channel, in the comments and everything like that, you've said, it's all the big companies, they move in and they have these huge budgets, and pretty soon it becomes the top 10 apps are all huge companies, right? And the little guys can't rise anymore. And I just started thinking that, maybe that's the case. Maybe it's just things are starting to die. Maybe the indie developer is going to become extinct, right? But then, on the way home, I started looking at the app stores, and I started looking at at rankings and everything like that. And I started looking at the industries that I'm in. So my biggest app is in the medical category. It's a hearing aid app. Or hearing aid / spy app or whatever. But a lot of it's targeted towards hearing aid. I started doing, under keywords under Google Play, under hearing aid, mine comes up, third or fourth, depending on if it's the US or the UK or overseas. It's one of the, it's like the top medical app in Thailand. All this, and so I started looking at other hearing aid companies, right? And they all have apps, but they're like nowhere near mine. So it's like, it was refreshing to me to think that, okay, yeah, we actually got some traction there, and even if they came in with this super huge budget, maybe they wouldn't be able to knock me off the top spot, right? And then I just started thinking, just in general, why indie developers are always, how they could do better than these huge companies. Like they always say, like when back in the 90s, when Walmart moves into a town, you just can't compete with Walmart. You can't play Walmart's game because they're going to beat you. You have to come up with a new game. And this is one of the things that indie developers can do that large companies cannot do. Indie developers can innovate and execute faster than any large company can. If you've ever worked for a large company, you know the pain of going to a meeting. You know the pain of having more than one decision maker and having committees and having things just sort of hash out and having too many cooks in the kitchen, and everything just becomes a hodgepodge of stuff. So one of the big things that indie developers can do, and that they always could do, and one of the reasons why indie developers are so good at what they do, is that if they have an idea, if they think I want to try something, they try it. And then if that becomes big, then of course the big guys will kind of come in. They'll lumber in and try to take up the market share. But it's the small ninja, it's the ninja-like skills of the indie developer who are going to do that, right? And this is one of the things I think with app reskinning and looking towards what's popular and trying to do that, why I don't think that works as well as trying to innovate and try to think fresh, out of the box. Because when you think out of the box, you can move in a direction maybe nobody else has moved in before. And I know from a business point of view, that's probably not a good idea. You're thinking about your return on investment. You're thinking about, if I invest in this, is it going to pay off? What are my risks and all this kind of stuff? But they can do that too. They're doing that. They're having people analyze risk. They're not going to make a decision that's not risky and everything like that. So despite the fact that I didn't meet any indie app developers there last night, and they may have been there, maybe I just didn't meet them. Maybe they left early too, thinking, this is just, everything's so corporate, right? Despite the fact that I didn't meet any there, I think the indie app developer is still very strong, but it's more on the terms of innovating, not looking to see what exists and say, I'm going to do that, but thinking, what can I do that's new? Or let's take an idea that exists, or take 2 or 3 ideas that exist and bring them together and build something that's completely new. And I know more and more, it gets more and more difficult as you go on. But I was playing a game the other day that I thought was just, it was like a meditation game. It was like a meditation game, and it was just really different and new. And it was just like the guy answering the reviews was just like, it was just him. Like, I don't know if it was large. It wasn't a large company, but it was an indie developer. I thought, that was really cool. And there's always things like that. Anyway, see, now this is the point I'm rambling. I should have finished two or 3 minutes ago. Anyway, I love indie app developers. I have a large amount of faith in indie app developers. That's why I'm going to continue to do what I do. I'm not going to go get some corporate job or whatever, despite the fact that when I leave those kind of things, I think, right? So anyway, tell me what you guys think. Do you think that the app market is going to become more corporate? Do you think that the indie app developer has a bright future ahead, or do you think things are dying out? Anyway, that's it for today. That's it for this week. I will talk to you guys on Monday.